me without you. You are my dream. You're what dreams are made for. You are my dream. We're a three-strand cord.
Yeah. Can you feel the rhythm of the soul? That's the heartbeats, let's go. Dive in with its riches untold. Let the greatest love story unfold. And yeah, all I know, I can't fall back. God pinned the format, officiated the first wedding and all that. So I'm all strapped with love stories that recall back times we made it to the light when it looked all black. Hashtag relationship goals. Let's go where God wants us to go. We ain't gotta drive, it's a score that's outside. In His grace we can fly, there's really no downside. Can we dance to His heartbeat? Be quiet when His heart speaks. Come on, be honest when our heart meets. As we listen to our heartbeats.
You are my dream. There's no me without you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Heartbeats podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Kogan, and I want to thank you all for joining us on the podcast all about love. That's right, love. Most specifically, though, the love God has for us as demonstrated in how He brings two people together for marriage and how He loves upon His singles. What? And today, we have our first singles episode of Season 2. My dear friends, Miss Candace Potts and Miss Tylisha Washington, dear friends of mine that I know from work, who I've particularly gotten to know as I transitioned back to Michigan. And they also have made their own transition to Michigan as well. So as you listen to our convo, pay attention to what is sticking out to you about their story. What details are being highlighted to you as you listen? Around here, we call that your heartbeat, which is what is God communicating to you as you hear their story? Because He wants to encourage you. He wants to challenge you, build your faith, strengthen your hope in Him through the testimony of others. So at the end of this episode, all three of us will actually share our heartbeats together. So with that said, you all, let's get started and meet Candace Potts and Tylisha Washington. All right, Ty and Candace, my new Michigan friends, welcome to the Heartbeats podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Candace, I'm feeling that purple lipstick.
Gracias.
And yeah, that's right.
Feeling that.
That's right. And Ty's background, as you learn a little bit about Ty, you'll know why this represents her very well.
Yes.
So I know Ty and Candace from work. We all have the beautiful privilege of having just moved to Michigan from different places and are all working at the same school. We won't say the name, but we're all working at the same school together. And we have been a life support for one another. So it's been such a beautiful season because it was amazing that God brought the three of us, all who love Jesus, love kids, to the same school from out of town, kind of going through a lot of similar experiences. So I'm excited for this combo. So, Candace, let's start with you. What should we know about you, girl?
Hey guys, my name's Candace. I am from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised. Whoop, whoop.
Hey.
Just to Michigan in March, so I'm fairly new. But I am enjoying it so far. Meeting these ladies has been a godsend, so I'm grateful. And I am a professional singer. I travel around the world as well as teach. And I sing, and I am a music teacher. And I just enjoy life, and I'm a fashionista.
Yes, she is.
I'm a Mary Kay consultant, so if you need anything,
Oh, I
come
didn't know.
see me. Absolutely, I just started. So yes, as well. I am a plus size model as well.
Mm.
So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Candace and I have been talking about her earrings for the last 2 months. And if you're
My best
listening to
friend.
this, if you're listening to this just audio, make sure you go onto YouTube to check out her earrings. Because from the very first moment I met Candace, I was like, excuse me, I'd like a pair of those. I'm still waiting. But Ty, tell us about you.
Okay, so let's see. I was born and raised in Michigan, and then I moved out to Arizona. I taught there for 5 years, and then I moved to Florida, and I taught there for about 3 years. So the background is to keep my spirits high as I'm back in Michigan living in the snow because it's cold, and I've been away for about 10 years. Yeah, it's cold. So I am a writer. I write mostly science fiction and fantasy, and I have a few manuscripts that I'm pushing around and revising. And also I'm a teacher. So I've taught pretty much every grade from preschool to 12th, and I kind of settled around high school, 9th through 12th. So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And both of these two ladies are incredible educators and making a huge difference. I'll just leave it at that. And Ty, I'm just curious, is there a show or movie or anything like that that inspired your science fiction writing, like growing up or anything like that?
Yes, it's a little embarrassing, but do you both remember Sailor Moon?
Oh my goodness, yes.
No.
Oh, this is like Sailor Moon for brown girls, but
Yes.
Sailor Moon, so basically she was like this moon princess who had to defend Neo Tokyo against evil, and the evil was always so just single focus. Like they always wanted to just collect energy from the people, and then she had like these 4 sailor guardians that protected her, and I really loved it as a kid. And so the story that I'm writing now, it's a 16-year-old. She basically wants to fall in love, but she is one of those guardians. And her calling, her oath demands that she just protects her princess, so she's not really allowed to establish outside relationships. And it's fun. She's just this happy-go-lucky girl who doesn't want anything to do with that at all, wants to just fall in love.
Wow. This is fascinating to me. I actually grew up in a family of big sci-fi family.
Okay.
And I'm not a huge sci-fi, though there are a few that, Star Wars, like, I love me a good Star Wars, but not the newer,
No.
I like the old time ones. But yeah, my family loves a good Star Trek. A good, the multiple versions of Star Trek. So I grew up watching them, but so I'm gonna have to check out. You said Sailor Moon?
Yeah, but well, this is actually not so much sci-fi. It's definitely more fantasy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Sailor Moon, you can watch it up until like, I don't know, the 5th season or so. I remember as a kid, we had to stop watching it because it started to get a little dark. And my parents were like, no, we're not watching that.
That's amazing. Well, ladies, I just want to thank you for being part of this conversation we've been having in season 2. I do, as you all know, the podcast is a lot of conversations with couples about how God brought them together. And I also like to talk with some singles as well, because God has shown up for us. He has definitely protected, provided all the things throughout our lives. And so I love, one of my personal passions is stories, because people connect to stories. That's just it. Just like you writing, Ty, your novels, people find themselves in that story and can relate to what's happening. And so I want to just start off with each of you sharing a time or season in your life where you have seen God show up for you in a maybe unique way than just your everyday experience. So whoever wants to start, if I need a pick, I will, but whoever wants to start off and share their story.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ty. You go.
So a time when God showed up for me in a unique way, and it's just in general, not having to do. Okay. I would have to say that was when I lived out in Arizona. It was a time where I felt like I was out in the desert, like literally and spiritually
Right.
in the desert. Thirsting for connection, thirsting for friends, family. And I remember feeling so alone. And then he started to place people in my life who I still have really close relationships with. And eventually healed my heart enough to like where I could return home and well, obviously I'm back here in Michigan now. So like it was a place of the desert, the Sonoran Desert was a place of isolation for me, but then it ended up being a place of connection by God coming through and putting the right people in my life at the right moment.
Can you actually, I can really relate to that a bunch, because, moving away, I left Michigan for about 16 years. And one of the biggest things when you live somewhere new is community. You need friends. Like, I don't know nobody. And some of my personal stories have been about how God's put people in my path. There are specific some example of how did you meet some of these people? Was it through church? Was it through work? How did God bring these people in your life?
So it was through work, actually. They were teachers that I taught with. So as a kid, I moved around a lot and I went to a lot of different schools, and I always had this time frame of thawing. It would take me a long time to thaw and to connect with other people. And it was always about 6 months. I can remember when I was in 9th grade, actually 8th grade, I went to a new school, and I don't think I said a word to anyone outside of when I had to for like a whole semester. So like I was talking to girls in practice, but then in school I would be quiet. And then 9th grade, I moved to another school, and there would be whole days where I would just sit there and count to myself how many words I would say to other people. And I was just quiet. I wouldn't speak. And then another 6 months would go by and I would start to thaw out. And so then throughout my life, that pattern became longer and longer. So when I moved out to Arizona, it was really 2 years before I started to make friends as an adult. I went to work. I went to work out after work. I went to church, but I wasn't even really trying. I didn't see myself as a person who could connect with other people. And then it started with one teaching friend who, like me, would show up early, way earlier than anybody else. And she would come to my room in the morning to talk to me. And I'm just like, you're nice. Okay. And then it started with her like inviting me to hang out with friends after work. And then before I knew it, I had 4 really close friends that I was going on weekend trips with and who are now still in my life and who I can talk to about anything. So That's how it started.
I
Yeah.
love that because I can see how God kind of knew you needed someone to kind of take initiation with you and start showing up in your
Mhm.
life and kind of draw you out. And I relate to just how much, especially when you're new, how
Mhm.
exhausting it can be to just like put on Candace. I know this is fresh for you because
Woo.
you're new to Michigan, in a way that Ty and I are not, but just how exhausting it can be when you're the new person to constantly show up in new places and feel like you have to put yourself out all the
Mhm.
time. Um, I have a story about that perhaps I'll share later, but Ty, I'm curious if you're willing to share.
Okay.
What what why did you feel like you weren't able to connect with people?
Why? Okay. Yeah, I can share about that. It's a deep answer, but when I was 14, I started to experience depression.
Mm,
And so that permeated maybe 10 years of my life where
mm,
I was just in this depressive state. And it's weird because I was also in this spiritual state where I was always aware of God and always knew that He loved me. But I think on maybe, the more I understand about depression on a chemical level,
mm,
I just felt different.
mm,
And so that's why I was very observant about my relationships. It was almost like every interaction costed me something. I
mm,
knew that it was going to take energy to talk to people. And then I knew that I was going to be in my head thinking about all those interactions like, does this person really like me? Or are we just going through
mm,
emotions? Are
Mhm.
we just doing what society expects of us? And so I was always kind of meta aware, even as a kid, that I thought differently. I felt differently. Uh,
mm,
strange ideas. Like I could remember myself when I was 18, just sitting on a couch at a sleepover for girls with basketball and thinking, wow, this is a really normal human thing to do, to be sitting beside a friend. So that was always my mind. I was
mm,
always evaluating everything.
mm.
Mm.
Wow, I appreciate you sharing that. Um,
Mhm.
it's interesting as we work with teenagers how much we see that narrative play out in their minds of like, oh, do people really like me? Am I just like, their pity case, so to speak? And then in reality, I say this to people a lot, it doesn't change a whole lot as we go into
Right.
adulthood. We just mask it with maturity or whatever smile. Like we learn to
Wow.
sort of mask those things. But the reality is, even as adults, we have to wrestle through those very same thoughts
Mhm.
and battles, um, and so forth.
Right. And that's why God sending those people in my 20s, when I was first teaching out in Arizona, that's why that mattered so much, because at some point it just clicked and I realized these people are really my friends. Like they're really
Mm,
real. And I realized that I was on the track of not really believing in love,
mm,
not even between a man and a woman, but in general. I just thought like people were not actually capable of loving other people.
That's so real.
And
mm,
I wouldn't let myself think about what that meant about what I believed about God. Um, because that was scary. I grew up super Baptist, so I didn't want to think about anything that challenged
mm.
my core beliefs. But by him sending me those friends, it changed my whole outlook on human relationships.
Okay. That is super duper real. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a gem right there, because uh, the reality is we experience God's love through yes, through like personal time with him, right? Intimacy with God, but through his body, like through people, we experience God's love. And I know we all have heard all the time about how people who have bad relationships with, a father or something like that, how hard it is for them to believe God is love, right? And but that's the truth. We experience God's love through other people as well. That's a huge way we start to understand, wait, God really loves me. That's a real thing. And therefore we're able to love. And so yeah, that's a really powerful statement that you're talking about, Ty. And I think something a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
Including myself.
Including me.
So Candace, thank you, Ty, by the way. That was spot on. Candace, talk to us.
Yes. So a time when God showed up and showed out. 2018, my life kind of just got shocked. My parents, who were married for 32 years, one day my dad, he just picked up his things and walked out the door and said he wasn't coming back. And it was a series of things that happened. So my dad left. Then my mom, she lost her job. And then my father had filed for actual divorce. And then I was on tour. I did a month tour in Italy. And while I was on the tour, I kept having this dream that either I was going to be sick or someone around me was going to get sick. And it had to deal with like the breast area. So I said, I don't know. So every day I would just kind of like, like feel around, like, what's going on? Fast forward, I get home from the tour, and I would notice, like, when I would talk to my mom on the phone, like her countenance would be down. And so I was like, what's going on? I said, I'll figure it out when I get home. So anyway, I get home and she ends up telling me, she was like, Candace, I want to tell you something. I'm like, what's going on, Mom? She was like, so I have this scarring on my chest, and we got the test back, and come to find out that she had stage 3 breast cancer. And so it was like a series of things that happened. So it was like divorce, my father leaving, literally, when I say he left out the door and never came back, like left his clothes, left anything that pertained to him, left it, kept on moving. And then she got, lost her job, and then she got sick. So at that time, I was working at, I was working at Windsor Fashion. I'm a retail worker as well. So I literally was like, I went into work and I was like, hey guys, I have to quit today. Some things has gone on, and I can't I can't do it. I have to take care of my mom. So it was like, she went to the doctors. They immediately started her on chemotherapy, and daily she had to go get chemo. So I was with her every day, driving her back and forth, back and forth. I didn't even care about anything else. I just was like, I lost my father. I can't lose my mom. And then so through that, my dad's side of the family, after he left, they all disconnected themselves as well, which is crazy because that's the family that I grew up under. I would stay at my grandmother's house all the time, at my aunts and my cousins and things of that nature, but they all kind of just distanced themselves, and I'm just like, what is going on?
Right.
What's happening? Because I don't know this. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel well. So fast forward, and I only have one sibling. I'm the oldest, and so me and my younger brother, we had to deal with that each day. It was hard on both of us, but with the grace of God and the help of God, we made it through it. And I can stand here today and tell you that my mom is breast cancer free.
Hey.
She's healed and she's doing great.
Mm.
And it was funny because I was supposed to move to Michigan back in 2018, but when that happened, my dad left. I was like, I can't leave. I can't leave my mom. Like, I need her to be okay because
Wow.
of course, 32 years of your life just snatched away from you.
Mm.
And it was just like, she had fell into a deep depression, and I think we all kind of just
Right.
life just rocked us in a way that it was just like, okay, let's pause for a second. Let's stop. Let's actually talk about what's going on. And, let's talk through these emotions. Like, how are you feeling today? So our bond as a family had gotten stronger. Thank God for my mom's side of the family.
Right.
They had been there with us while she was going through the cancer treatments and everything like that. And it was crazy because she had the rarest form of stage 3 breast cancer, to the point where they had to go and see if they had she had like a lesion on her kidney.
Mm.
They made a mistake as they were going in and nicked her kidney, and it bled out into her gallbladder.
Oh my gosh.
And when I say she was in excruciating pain, to the point she was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I just want you to know what the papers are in case I don't make this, and da 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 da. And I'm sitting there like,
Wow.
but through it all, God was right there holding my hand.
Mm.
And the hymn, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, was the constant thing that was going through mine. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. So my face was to the ground. I was praying. And even during the time when my mom had the cancer, it was just like, I would have thought that my dad would have stepped up and said, oh,
Wow.
he never showed up.
Mm.
But God was always there. So I'm thankful for the miracle that I saw through my mom.
Wow.
That's where God showed up, and he showed out.
Oof. I first of all, I just want to thank you for sharing. That's a very vulnerable
Yes.
place. Both of you all shared from a very vulnerable place. And I just am encouraged because, you're kind of on the other side of it now. And there are people who are going through it now and need to hear this is a season.
Mm-hmm.
God will get you through, one day at a time. And it's interesting. Hearing one of the details you said about that reoccurring dream.
Mm-hmm.
And, I personally am a big believer that God communicates through dreams, not every dream, right? But he definitely communicates through dreams. And how gracious he was it was like he was preparing you. Like,
And that's the thing, because he knew when it comes to either one of my parents, anybody in my family, I'm very sensitive. And I take on whatever, pain or anything, I take it on and I wear it, but I'm also I lift people up in those moments. And so it's just like, ooh, this was a lot, but I'm gonna be here. Like, I literally was like, I'm not working. I'm quitting my job. I will be taking you everywhere. I will be making sure to change your wound, change this, that, because she had to get a port in her chest and she had to get it flushed every other day, had to have it, make sure it was clean, all of that. I was gonna make sure that you're okay.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
It made me a stronger person today.
I was going to say, that's kind of what I wanted to ask is, you've been through that. How has it, you mentioned that you all started talking, like, how are you doing today? Like, let's actually start talking and kind of work through some of this. How, looking back now, how do you see how God used that season to, like, what's kind of the fruit of that season of your life? How are you different? How is your family different? Whatever you want to share along those lines.
Um, like I said, I talk to my family every day, even more now that I'm gone. We talk every day, but we make sure to check in. Like if we don't check in, it's an issue. It's an issue. Okay, so what's going on today? Oh, okay. I want to make sure I say hi.
Right.
But it has definitely made us um grow in our faith
Mhm.
and everything to show like you are a living, walking, talking miracle. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have to remind my mother because, of course, being on social media, you see so much. And I'm like, Mom, tell your story. And I think
Mm.
sometimes she's afraid to tell her story because there are so many people that did not make it.
Sure.
And so it's like, well, Mom, I understand that, but some people who are going through this right now need to hear your story to know that they can make it through.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's helped her in a way that she's open to hearing whatever we have to say, because at first it was just like, I'm the mother and da, da. But then when things happen, it's just like her vulnerability just kind of diminished. It was like, okay, let me let these walls down and
Right.
let me listen to what you have to say, because maybe I need to.
Mm. 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 That's good. That's good. I hear you. Just the power of sharing your story, and I love that you all are encouraging her to share her story because
Hmm.
people, I mean, you all know with our line of work, people need hope.
Yes, yes,
Like, people
yes.
need to know this isn't just all that there is, and
Mhm.
they need hope in an internal sense, but also hope in the day to day. That uh again, that this isn't the final story and that this is a season. So I love that y'all are encouraging your mom to share her story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious how you all would respond to this. I mentioned, I think before, if I didn't, here we go. Redemptive challenges. So, season 2, we're focusing on how have we, or what's a challenge we've been through and how has God helped us through that challenge. And that doesn't mean the challenge has been overcome,
Hmm.
but how are we growing in it? So I'm curious, as singles, right? The three of us are beautiful single women, okay? And what's a challenge you all have faced, specifically being single? Okay, so obviously we're gonna face challenges till our dying day. So, um, but how have you seen, what's a challenge you've experienced as being single, and how has God helped you either overcome that or work through it? Um, and Ty, you get the go.
Okay. Um, it's an easy question to answer because I'm in the middle of it.
Mhm.
It's a lesson I'm learning, which is to wait and to trust because well, I'm 31. And so I think really my single struggle is age. I start
Mm.
to think, oh, I'm getting older. It's time to marry.
Girl.
Hmm. And God is teaching me not to settle for men who are almost right. And
Say
Mm.
it again.
especially,
Say it one
listen,
more.
Say that one more time.
I see them and they're almost right. And usually the issue is that spiritually we're not on the same level, but maybe intellectually, conversationally, maybe there's a sense of camaraderie. I was overlooking the lack of faith
Mm.
in a few men because I thought maybe they can get there.
Mm.
I have to take this into my own hands. It's time to get married right now.
Mm.
Well, listen, I've been in those relationships and I was almost ready to just sign my life away. And
Mm.
you don't want to marry the wrong person
Mm.
because you feel that pressure. So I trust that God has someone out there for me. And I trust that if he does not, I am going to be okay.
Right.
Because it is better to be right in him, than with the wrong person who's going to lead you away.
Yep.
Yeah. I no, it's funny. I just yesterday was saying to a friend, she and I send each other messages every morning before we get into work. And I send her an audio almost pretty much every day. And I was like, girl, there's no plan B. There's no plan
Okay.
B. It's God's way. That's it. It's what
That's it.
he says. That's it.
Right.
Because, and I was basing that actually off of Isaiah 30. If anyone wants a chapter to go read, check out Isaiah 30. But it's a chapter where it's a piece in Isaiah where the Israelites want to run to Egypt for their safety and protection, and they're creating their own deliverance. And God was like, good freaking luck.
Okay.
That will end up in your demise. That will not work. And he's like, but I'm here. I'm here. And it's Isaiah 30, I want to say verse 15. In repentance and rest is your salvation, and calmness and trust is your strength. I might have just butchered that, so everybody look it up. I ain't trying to butcher it or create my own version, but it's something along those lines. He's inviting us into rest, to calm, but it's our panic that's like, oh, I gotta go, and he's just like, all right, you fools, good luck.
Good luck to you.
You know what? You just brought so much light to that verse, because actually, I think I read the same thing in a devotional maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was a part of this Bible study. So they asked us to reflect on it. And at the time, it hit, but right now it just sunk in. And rest is your deliverance, because yes, I think when you come up through some hardships, you learn to be self-reliant. And you just work yourself into a hole.
Yep.
And you have to stop. You have to trust in God. You have to let him be the one to help you.
Yep. Because only he can do it.
Yeah.
Only he can do it.
You can't do it on your own, honey. Woo! I've seen people try. And it never worked out well.
Yeah.
Nope. That's good. And that timing piece. Whew, the Lord be knowing he loves to.
Okay.
Let me
go see how long you gonna wait. You right, guy. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on you. I'm gonna wait on you.
Oh, I'm just thinking of us in the classroom, where how I always get my a lot of faith lessons from our line of work, where we're like, all right, well, the longer you resist, y'all are wasting your own time. This isn't gonna go well for you. So the sooner you all start trusting me, trusting us, right? And allowing us to guide you and lead you in this learning process, it's actually going to go smoother for you. I always feel like that's a visible reminder of like, yeah, go ahead. So how's your plan B working out for you? Right?
Okay. How was it?
Yes.
Candace, what about you, friend?
What's the question again, Lord God? The question is,
how have you seen, you all see that if you're watching this on YouTube, she's like, I'm ready. What's a challenge you face specifically as a single? And how has God helped you work through it or work on it?
It's a time thing for me too. I have to double back off of what Ty was. Because a lot of all of my friends are already married, already
Right.
have kids, and it's just like, so when we go out, it's like family, me. Okay. I always am like the extra. So it's just like, oh
Mhm.
God, like I hate this feeling. But it's like I'm at a place now where I'm actually enjoying my singleness.
Mm,
You'll never get these days back again.
that's right.
You'll
Right.
never
Right.
get these days back again. So it's like, okay, enjoy it now while you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Whether you're 30, 32, 35, or 38,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy your singleness
Enjoy
now
it.
and enjoy being in it with the Lord. Like there's so much that you could be doing in him with him during this time, because as soon as you get married or and have a family, life picks up, life picks up, life picks
Mhm.
up, and it's like, okay, well, where is he now?
Mm.
Did you forget?
Mm.
Carry that same energy from when you were in your singleness into your family, and your, when you have a fan, keep that same energy going.
Mm.
So learning how to really devote time to him,
Right.
creating that now is going to prepare for when there is a family, there's another person, there's another person, because I want 5 kids, and I want and
Hey.
Lord, and people always say you want 5 kids, but you 32, and if he did it for Sarah,
That's right, Miss Potts. You say it, hon.
if he did it for Sarah, he could do it for me. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. You say it.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like, but if you wait on him, he will supply your needs. He will
Yeah.
give your heart's desire.
Mm.
So, yes.
Yes. Oh man, it's a double-edged sword for me because there's a part of me that's like, man, I'm 31. I want these kids and this family now. And then there's a part of me that's like, I'm enjoying this singleness too much. Like, I don't know if when I get married, I'll be able to change. Like,
I love my
then,
time.
right.
I love my time to myself.
You
That's
know
what
how
it's done to
many
me.
books I read that, like, if you had kids running around, and I know because I have nieces, and when my nieces are with me,
Right.
it's all about them, no matter what.
Exactly.
Yo, I feel that. I feel that. It is interesting because Candace, you said something about God preparing you, right?
Mhm.
And I remember my mom saying to me several years ago, she for her generation,
Mm-hmm.
she got married older. Okay,
Mm,
now I quoted to you her age. Yeah, we would all be like, that ain't old.
right.
But for her generation, she got married old, and again, a lot of her siblings were married, starting to have kids, stuff like that. So before she and my dad got married, she was like, I had a lot of time to spend with Jesus.
Okay.
And she was like, and that season helped me in the drier seasons when I had little kids, little children, and I could feed off of that time when, she could really study God's word and pray and be involved in, church in a way maybe she couldn't as much with younger kids, and how that helped when she had really little kids. There were 4 of us, and we were all kind of 2 years spread apart. So it was just sort of the season of children and raising little kids and having kids. Sleep, not a lot of sleep. That she fed
That too.
off of that.
That too. I enjoy my sleep now.
Yeah.
When babies come, that sleep. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
So I appreciate that you have the time even to grow in your faith
Yeah.
and your own sense of self.
Yes.
I feel like I know who I am at this point, and
Mhm.
whoever I meet hopefully will know who they are.
Yeah.
'Cause I do see a lot of couples that married younger. Everything is, great in the beginning, but you're still growing as people. And
Mm.
sometimes you don't grow like this.
Mm.
Right.
Sometimes you grow like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fork at the road.
Right. I'm gonna quote a a pastor that I love to follow, Tim Ross, in Texas. And he says something along the lines of, when you say I do, you're not really saying I do to what you know, you're saying I do to what you don't know.
Exactly.
And I think at this point in our lives, we've seen a lot of marriages not make it. Candace, you talked about that. And some of those marriages we thought would never, that they were good. Like, they don't need my prayers. They could, right?
And the funny thing, that was my parents. Like, when all my friends heard about it, they were just like, I'm sorry, what?
Mm.
Like, my parents were those couples. It's like,
Right.
oh, I want your mom to be that. Y'all are my parents. And so when it happened, everybody was like, and you mean you don't talk to your father at all anymore? I don't talk to my father. He doesn't pick up the phone for me at all. So it's just like, so you didn't know yourself before you got married, pretty much.
Ooh.
Because 32 years of your life, you built this family and then slapped it out the way and said, I'm moving on. And that's what I don't want to happen.
So Candace, kind of pigging off of that, how has that shaped maybe how you want to show up in a relationship, or things that you want to like talk about or work through maybe before you say I do, or like safety measures you want in place? Like, we talk about preparation. It's like, now we all in our 30s at this point. Like, we ain't messing around, we ain't playing around.
Okay.
And so, and we're not gonna just like date around for, Netflix and chill. Oh no. We don't got time for that.
Too precious for it. Too precious for Netflix and chill.
Too precious
Yes.
for that. You said it. So I'm curious, and Ty, you can also, of course, add into this as well. Like, for you, seeing what you've seen and gone through, how is that shaping how you want to show up, how you want that man to show up, and how you want to sort of safeguard your marriage?
Communication, like, that has to be like the main. Every day we checking in. So outside of how was your day, how are you feeling? What's on your heart? Like, how do you actually feel? Like, I need you to break the walls down. Tell me exactly how you feel, and vice versa. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel, so that no communication is lost. And I want to be able to be open daily to listening, and also seeking the Lord in those moments. Let's talk to the Lord in this moment as well. Let's pray. Let's, all of that has to be at the head of God, has to be first in any and everything that you do. So that open line of communication. It's okay to I'm trying to find a therapist now because I'm still trying to work through healing certain areas of my life.
Yeah.
So if you're not whole, let's work through this together. We don't have to get married just yet. Let's work through it. Couple of therapy, people, it's a strange word, but people need therapy. Of course, people are being more open these days too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
good.
okay. Let's talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's important. I think wholeness is important because, at least the way I look at it, I'm not looking for any mental pieces. I mean, not mental pieces, missing pieces. Definitely not mental pieces. I'm not looking for any missing pieces.
Yeah.
In life. I believe that Christ is sufficient. He is enough to complete us and bring us to wholeness. So what I'm looking for more is a partner, someone to walk alongside. But I don't think we can even start off on a healthy foot if you view me as the person who's going to complete your life. I'm viewing you that way, because we're going to fall short.
Right.
We're sinners. Like, no one can complete another person. But I'm looking to be a unit. I'm looking to have, as far as where Christ comes in, that we're on the same page about that. And then we can have our differences. Like, I like to read in the evenings. If you like to watch TV, that's fine. Like I'll sit next to you while you watch TV and I'm gonna have my book. But it's so that is probably the number one thing is I'm looking for someone who is confident in their faith and in themselves, through Christ.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I really don't see if we're in this thing, if we say we're married, divorce is not an option.
Right.
So got to work through this thing.
Yep. And be on the same page about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've wanted to do, or I'd like to do, is I don't want to wait until, marriage on the rocks. Let's go to therapy. I'm like, you know what? There's just something amazing about having outside voices with sort of a third party perspective where you can come together and talk about things, because I think the older I get, the more I realize I come in with my own unique set of experiences,
Same.
family traditions, struggles. Ty, you talked openly earlier about just the way you process things, and I'm the same way. Like I have to fight against, interpreting life through a particular lens. That's not accurate often. So, and that person comes in with those same things. So how much unhealthiness happens from non-communicated, I don't know if I'm saying all this correctly, but uncommunicated expectations that has not been said, but I'm expecting you to do this and you're expecting me to do this, but I didn't know that, you didn't know that.
Girl, I'm in this Bible study right now. I'm trying to look at the book title over there. It's like emotionally healthy relationships. And we were talking about expectations the first day I showed up. I didn't even mean to join this Bible study, by the way. I had walked in actually after a bad date with a person. I'll just say that. And right after the day ended, I got in my car and I was just like, and I just drove to the church. And so I walked in and I was looking for a place to go pray. And someone pulled me aside and was like, why don't you just come to this Bible study with me? So then I wound up in this Bible study. And
I did that thing, honey.
All right.
The day that I showed up, it was about expectations. They were like, expectations need to be spoken. You can't just have them in your head. It needs to be agreed upon. So there needs to be a contract there. And it needs to be realistic. So now as I'm thinking about expectations, I always go through those three. Is it spoken? Like, did I actually talk to the other person about this expectation? Is it realistic? And did we agree to it? Because then if we both agreed to it,
right.
That's real, and that could actually be used in all relationships,
right?
Friendships, because even as friends, sometimes we fall short there too.
Yep.
So it's like, but I expected you to. Did you say that you would me to do? Blah, blah, blah. No, I just knew you would do that because you're my friend. Oh, okay, but I
wasn't aware.
Didn't know.
Didn't
know. Yeah.
And then our friendship is on the rocks. So it's just like, okay.
Right.
Right. That's real. I need that book title one more time.
Yeah, I know.
I'll bring it on Monday.
Yeah. I need a copy.
I know, right? Because it's amazing sometimes too what we think we've communicated. And was your communication, who was it I was talking to? Someone said, it's not just communication, it's like correct communication, like healthy communication. Like, does the person who you communicated with, did they hear what you said? And vice versa. And I know I can be quick to be like,
yeah.
because I'm like, well, and it's like,
Okay.
did I communicate that? Have I told? And I think sometimes one of the things I've been wrestling with in this season of my life is, am I looking for someone who's like me? Like,
Mm,
I'm not, let's be clear. We don't want to marry ourselves.
right.
So, but sometimes we go in expecting or we're looking for someone who thinks and acts and processes and does everything the way we do it. And
That's
boo,
serious.
do you want to marry someone? Do you want to marry you? Because that wasn't Adam and Eve, okay?
Okay.
That's not it. So really breaking down and going, okay, why am I upset here or frustrated? Whether we're talking about, like you said, Candace, friendships or not, whoever the person is, are we looking for people just like ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
That can be nice, but that can also be a lot of unhealthiness there as well.
Right.
So
Because who's gonna check y'all if you both thinking the same?
Yeah.
for real. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Woo.
Communication is important too. And also another thing I look for is like, one, I look at their relationships with other people around them, like family, friends, but I also look at anger. Like, how do you express your anger? Because I'm a strong person, but I'm also a sensitive person.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you guys earlier, sometimes I'm reading and you might misread. You might misread what another person is thinking, but if you become cool and distant, or if you are like verbally lashing out, I think it's better to just say, hey, when you did this upset me. So I'm looking for communication when you are upset.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we could talk all day about this. And maybe offline we will. And I just appreciate, just y'all's transparency. Y'all brought a lot of wisdom. And I don't know, it's just amazing to see how God has shown up in y'all's lives, but also how he is expressed through each of you individually. Just seeing you all at work and in the line of work that we do, and knowing that God is using you in a powerful way. And even though, a lot of times kids don't see, they almost see us as like non-human, and so they get fascinated, like, oh, fascinated with our lives. And that touch of like, no, you all are human beings, and knowing what you all have gone through as individuals, and yet showing up with a smile, enjoying your heart and love for, the teens that we work with, is a beautiful thing. That even though you've been through some things, it's almost because of that you're allowed to show up in a different way and really love people, because you've seen him show up for you.
Yeah.
I want us to kind of close out. We're going to do 2 closings. All right. So we're going to close out first with each of us sharing what was our heartbeat. All right. So I normally record this myself. It's just me reflecting, but because it's 3 of us individually, I'd love to hear, as we were talking, as we were sharing and hearing one another's stories, what was something you were, God was highlighting to you, or what's something that sticks out to you from our conversation. And then we're going to close out with a little number from Miss Candace Potts. She's going to share with us a song that has really meant something to her faith walk. And if you have any words you want to say about it, Candace, you can. Otherwise, just sing it and we'll just close out from there. So I'll end with my heartbeat.
Okay.
Maybe Candace.
Okay.
Why don't you start?
Sure. So I'll say faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And that's my one. And my 2 would be optimistic in all. Keep the faith, keep the hope.
That's good.
Things will get better. God will show up for you.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it because you are his child. And he's mindful of his people. Mindful of his people.
Good.
Yes. My heartbeat moment occurred when Candace was talking about her ordeal with her mother and how she had the hymns in the back of her mind. And so the hymn that occurred to me was It Is Well. Actually, I don't know the name of the song, but I just thought of that man who wrote that hymnal sitting in that boat while, the sea was insane, and life sometimes is insane, and singleness sometimes is insane, but it is well. God is there. It is well with my soul.
God is all up in this thing, honey.
I'm about to tear up actually, and I'll
listen. That's why I'm like, let me.
Because I'm gonna share my heartbeat, and then Candace can share why she and I were both like, Ty did not just say that.
Okay.
But for me, yeah, I almost, it's Ty, what you were saying about trust, waiting and trusting that, and it ties in with Candace with what you were saying. Like, God is for us. We're his children. He loves us, so he will. He will show up. That is it. There's no plan B. He will show up. Wow. And so if we trust the heart of the Father, if we trust he is really for us and not against us, he knows the exact right time. He knows the exact right way to come through in a way that will blow our minds. And trust that what he started, he will finish. He will not leave any one of us, any one of you listening, will not leave you hanging. And you do not need to craft your own deliverance. Good luck. Don't do it.
Don't.
Saying it to myself, don't do it.
Okay.
Don't craft your own deliverance. It's going to end up in your own shame and foolishness. Trust in rest, whatever, I'm butchering it, you all know, but in repentance and rest is your salvation, and calmness and trust is your strength.
Yes.
And Candace, now you gotta say something about your song.
So the song that I had chosen for today, when she asked me, I said this is one of the hymns that stuck with me through the entire time that my mom was sick. It is well. I said, oh God, you in this thing. You are in this thing. Yeah. Woo, you are in this thing. So I'll leave you with that. When peace like a river attentive my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. Oh, it is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well.
You are my dream. There's no me without you. You are my dream. You're what dreams are made for. You are my dream. We're a three-strand cord. When I saw you, my heart skipped a beat.
When I saw you, my heart felt complete. Yeah.
But I wasn't ready to speak.
So I took the first word I was ready to greet.
But God knew
Shot my
we
shot,
were
baby.
meant to be.
I knew we were meant to be. Yeah. We were meant to be.